queen has left us. Aretha Franklin passed away this week. Figured I'd play a little Aretha here to get the show started in remembrance of her. And there it was. It was Freeway of Love, which I totally forgot she did until I was looking for the perfect song. I was thinking, Natural Woman or Respect or Think or all the other songs everybody seems to play. But I just want to see what else there was there. And all of a sudden it was like, I remember Freeway of Love. So I played, and sure enough, it was like bang-a-rang. So that's the perfect one for today's episode of Dylan Knows, episode 255, which I guess roughly counts to about maybe 5 more episodes before my 5-year anniversary. So sometime in mid-September, in case I think it's going to be like September 16th or something like that, would be the episode 15th. Will be my 5-year anniversary on doing the show. 5 years doing this show. And this is only the second time I think I've done it on a Sunday night. Last week was the first time. Normally I would do it on a Sunday afternoon or Saturday night. Occasionally I did 1 or 2 during a Saturday afternoon. And I've done it on Friday nights before also. So I did a little bit of everything, but schedule worked out that this would be the best thing to do. Yesterday wasn't going to work because I'm a member of a group called the Sharknado, and we all got together probably 6, 7, 8 years ago, making fun of sci-fi's bad movies that they always do. They used to show them like every Saturday, and we'd get on there, and my wife and I started by just, making some comments here and there about them, and occasionally we'd have people would be retweeting them and joining in, and we'd have conversations back and forth, and then gradually we started to get to know each other, and soon we got more and more people, and before you know it, we got a group of about 150 plus strong that would just come out and snark, and we would trend all the sci-fi movies every time, and we were a force to be reckoned with. And then sci-fi decided they wanted to go a different way. They wanted to spend more money on their TV shows, which is fine because the TV shows are actually really good. And by the time we were all pretty much ensconced with our friendships, so some of us stuck around for some of the shows. We've done other shows that weren't sci-fi related. We've actually had meetups called Snark Stock, which reminds me, I got to get working on that. Snark Stock is in October. Now we're getting close to the end. This is like August 19th. I mean, we're getting close. I mean, fall is like, I can smell it. It's so great. I mean, I went out on a walk with my wife this evening, and it was cloudy. There's like storms are going to be coming through soon, but it was cloudy, and it was cool. And I turned to her and said, you know what? I would love the weather was like this all the time. It was just nice. So it just gave that sense of full body feeling of fall's coming. And summer is making its last gasp, which is good. So we did that. I forgot where I was going to go with that. And then they created I guess I was going to go to the Sharknado saga. And that was 6 years ago. Geez, been that long? Yeah, it has been. Since they're on the 6th one now. And they've released one a year. So the Snark House probably were around probably 8 years then, 8 to 10 years by then. So it's about right? Yeah, sounds about right. Anyway, so during this, the lead up to Sharknado, Sci-Fi has been re-releasing their, not re-releasing, but releasing bad movies every day of the week. So we did Shark Week this week. And it was a Sharknado week, is actually what they call it. So there was a shark movie. I talked about this last week. There was a shark movie on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then Sharknado's tonight. So yesterday, at 9 o'clock was Six-Headed Shark Attack. And so we figured it was the first time that they've done a Saturday movie, because they used to do it Saturday at 9 o'clock, and that's when all the snark outs would come out of the woodwork and we'd all snark it. So we all, not all of us, but a lot of us were back for the show yesterday. So I couldn't do my show last night because of the Snark Alec reunion type thing. And I couldn't do it this afternoon because I hadn't seen my dad and stepmom in a while. So we went and visited them. Had a nice visit, had early dinner, and some great dessert. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. I don't know if you have this in your area. Sub-Zero ice cream. I think it's a brand. I think you can get it. I think there's a bunch of different stores out there. I don't think this is the only one. or it might not have the exact same name, but it's similar. But it's ice cream made with liquid nitrogen, and liquid nitrogen is a shitload much colder than regular freezer ice cream is, and it's they said our temperatures get down to negative 239, which is like what the temperature is like on Pluto. So, and that's just from the liquid nitrogen. But what they did was really cool. You walk in, it's a small little ice cream, but it looks like a little ice cream shop. It's got the little glass front thing where you look in and you can choose, but you don't really get to choose because the glass thing is actually where they make the ice cream. Well, not technically, but I gotta get to my point. So instead of going up to the people behind the counter and say, I want a small cup of vanilla ice cream with hot fudge on it, you get a sheet that's printed out with everything that they offer. And it's like a questionnaire almost. There's like 5 sections. You say, okay. Let's see, first one is what size do you want? Small, medium, regular, large, extra large, whatever. You click, and it's done on a wiper board type thing, so you can use a marker and you mark what you want, put your name on it. And then it says, what kind of ice cream do you want? So they have original, which is regular ice cream. They've got yogurt. They've got like vegan. They've got all the different types of ice creams that, people, because not everybody, almond milk ice cream, I think, is another one. So not everybody can do regular ice cream. So they give you a wide variety of it so they can, so you can enjoy the ice cream as well. And then it says, all right, what flavors do you want? And you get 4 for free. And any additional ones are going to cost extra, like 70 cents, but still. So you get to pick 4 flavors. If you just want one, you get one. If you want 4, you get 4. So I picked caramel, fudge, and marshmallow cream. Those are the flavors of the ice cream. And then it says, do you want any toppings? And they had a list of toppings that ranged from nerds to Swedish fish to waffle cone pieces to hot fudge to whipped cream to marshmallow cream, whatever. I didn't get anything extra. The kids got some stuff. And then we give them the order, and then they do it, and they make it, and you see the cold nitrogen come flying out, and it's freezing, and they're doing all this stuff, mixing it all together, and it comes out, and it looks like regular ice cream. It tastes like regular ice cream, and it was fantastic, and it was a wonderful experience. I have to go back there. So I couldn't do it Sunday morning, or afternoon rather. So I said, okay. Sunday night it is. I wasn't going to be watching Sharknado 6 anyway because I hadn't seen Sharknado 5. I know probably with these types of movies you don't need to, but from what I heard, there was a cliffhanger ending for Sharknado 5, and so I didn't want to get lost in thing. Plus, they start at 8 o'clock. The Sunday night movies, they start at 8 o'clock, which makes sense because work and school and stuff is on Monday, so it'll be over by 10 o'clock, and people can go to bed if they want to, but normally it's 9 o'clock is what time they do the movies. For us, 8 o'clock is our kids' like bedtime. So we get them upstairs, they take showers and baths, whatever, and then they put their lotions on, and then they get dressed, and then brush their teeth, comb their hair, and then they want us to hang out with them for a little while. I read to my son. My daughter sort of wants us to hang out, and they chit chat, stuff like that. And then by 9 o'clock, we get them to bed, and then Dawn and I come downstairs, and we just chill out on the sofa. And so with the movie starting at 8 o'clock, we really couldn't watch it. So I'm DVRing it, and we'll catch 5 and 6 back to back sometime. We'll be caught up sometime. I don't know. But it wasn't that big of a deal for me anyway, because it was pretty much, after the 4th one, they just kept replaying the same old stuff over and over again. I was like, ugh, okay, we get it. We understand it. We get the jokes. We get the cameos. And we get the ridiculousness of the story. But didn't matter, though, because right now the Snarkalics are in force out there with everybody else in the world, so they're probably going to be lots of big ratings, huge ratings, and that's good for sci-fi. And maybe they'll say, hey, maybe we should do some more types of movies. We are going to discuss Sharknado week, though, because there were some good movies this week. Particularly one was probably the best shark movie I've ever seen, and if they ever needed to do another 5 or 6 of this series, I would be all for it. It doesn't necessarily, and I'll get into that when we talk about, so I'll be talking about Sharknado week this week. So the reviews of the movies we saw, we missed Nightmare Shark on Thursday, which I want to see, but I didn't record. But as I said, I'll cover what I know from that as well. Some a lot of comic book news. I know a lot of people don't are interested in it, but a lot of it's comic book news, but it's also kind of movie comic book news type of stuff I'm going to get into also. August 16th apparently continues to be a bad day when it comes to famous people dying. Aretha died on August 16th. You'll be amazed at who else died on August 16th. Fairly impressive. We'll talk a little bit about Satanism on a Sunday night of all times. More superhero stuff, horror movies. Halloween's coming up really soon. Very interesting Winona Ryder, Keanu Reeves story that rolled over the news wires this morning. Something weird spotted on Mars, which has a connection to, of all things, a Muppet. Kofi Annan also died. Holographic wives are now available. Let me tell you how much they're going to cost you, coming up later in the show. And a few other interesting things as well. But I would probably the big story, if I have to pick a big story, is, and this makes me very proud, and you can probably make this case for any city in the country, but a English newspaper, England newspaper magazine, I think it's pretty big over there, the Daily Standard, did a poll and discovered that Baltimore, which is a city I live very near to, has been named the coolest city in the United States by the Standard newspaper and magazine, and I'll explain why they say that and why I kind of agree with them in some aspects. And again, you can call me Homer all you want, but you know what? I'm proud of my city. I'm a full-born, born and bred Baltimorean. I don't live in Baltimore. I've lived within the vicinity of Baltimore. I've been in Baltimore numerous times. I consider myself a Baltimorean, Baltimore Comic-Con. That's another reason why Baltimore's cool, but we'll get on to that later on. Some Pokemon Go stuff, and a lot of discussion about marijuana is coming up this week as well. Unfortunately, no sex this week, so dang nabbit, maybe next week. Next week is going to be a little bit different too, because my son's birthday is on Saturday, so I'm probably not going to do a Saturday night show because we're going to do the party late and then family afterwards, and might be too tired to do that, but we'll see. And then we get into Labor Day weekend, and then oh my God, it's September. We'll give you, I'll give you an idea of what my schedule's coming up and what's coming up this fall for me here on Dylan Knows. So first up, I'll do a couple of quick little stories, and then I'll hit the Sharknado week stuff. First off, may as well start it with this. August 16th is a rough date. And August 18th, actually, I discovered was too, and I'll talk about that in a second. But August 16th this year is when Aretha Franklin passed away. Now, we kind of knew she was going to be dying soon because she had been in the news lately before that point, being put in a hospice, and her illness, I'm not exactly sure, can't remember what it was offhand, what it was. Her illness was getting the best of her. So we figured it was going to be only a matter of time before she passed away. And she did on August 16th, so it was kind of sad. Some of the radio stations here in Baltimore, they played like nothing but Aretha for like an hour. And then they've done that before. They did that with Tom Petty when he died, and Michael Jackson when he died, but not really, not like, and Bowie also, they did that as well. So they've done that a little bit. So, but here's who else died on August 16th. These are only, there might be more famous people, but these two are the ones that popped out to me when I read this article on August 16th before Aretha died. This article came out. In a similar vein, Aretha Franklin died August 16th. Guess who else died August 16th? Some consider him the king of, maybe not pop, but the king of rock and roll. There can be a battle between him and Michael Jackson, but Elvis Presley died on August 16th, 1977. If you do not believe the conspiracy theory that he faked his own death, the underlying theme, the reason why people think that he faked his death, because his middle name is misspelled on his gravestone at Graceland. And people have spotted Elvis in the 80s at mowing the lawn and at bars and stuff. Elvis Presley died on August 16th. And a non-musician also died, but he's fairly famous too. August 16th, 1948, Babe Ruth died. Baseball player extraordinaire, had the home run record for the longest time till Hank Aaron broke it. I always remember when me and my friend Gary went to the Baltimore Sports Museum, which no longer exists, unfortunately. They did a Babe Ruth there's a Babe Ruth exhibit because Babe Ruth was born in Baltimore. Yes, he played for the Boston Yankees, but he was born in Baltimore, and his house is now the Baseball Hall of Fame, Baltimore Baseball Hall of Fame, or Baltimore Sports Hall of Fame Museum. Now they shifted from a bigger museum to this Babe Ruth Museum, which has always been around anyway, and it's actually in his house that he grew up in. So that's kind of cool. I've been there once, and I should probably go back there again and check it out. It's actually near where Edgar Allan Poe is buried also. So another reason why Baltimore is cool, but we'll get into that later too. But there was a movie, and I'm pretty sure it was a set-up fake movie, but it was something that he probably would have done in real life, but they probably filmed it so they could play it before movies. Because remember, back in the 20s and 30s, movies always had either cartoons or short films before, or the news before them. And this was a short film, I'd say about maybe 10 minutes, which makes about the right amount of sense. So basically, it's Babe Ruth and the Yankees had just either coming back home from a baseball series, or they're going someplace to play a baseball series. So they're taking the train because, the train was big in the 1940s, 1930s, actually 1930s, was 1930s. So the train is big in there. And so they're just pubbing along, and there's like a shot of Ty Cobb, well, not Ty Cobb, but all the other Yankees that were involved in that time, and Babe is there too. And we cut back to the outside, and you see the train is running through a field. Well, there's a train, and then there's like trees and bushes like that, and there's a field, and it's a baseball diamond, and there's little kids playing baseball, little kids like 8, 9, 10-year-old kids. They're playing baseball. Surprisingly, the train breaks down right by the baseball field. And Babe is the only one that says, this could take a while. So he's like, oh, I don't feel like waiting on this damn train. So he goes over and he sees these kids playing baseball, and he's like, ooh. So he gets off the train in his suit and tie, or he doesn't have a suit. I think he has a shirt and tie on. And he goes over and he plays baseball with these kids. And it's adorable. It's cute. And I'm 100% certain it was a setup. But because the way they shot it looked like a film. It's like, okay, here's the exterior shot of the train. Here's a shot close up of the kids. Here's a shot of Babe Ruth coming out by himself. None of these other players are coming out with him. So I just found it interesting. So that's going to go. But he passed away on August 16th also. Now, I didn't know about August 18th. Had one, which I still think is kind of fictional, because I think this is kind of not exactly going on, but I discovered that August 18th, I think it was 73, maybe 74, or 70 or 71, I don't know, was when the crime that influenced the Texas Chainsaw Massacre occurred. So I don't know how true that is, because I don't know how true the story is that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is based on a true story. Now, they use that a lot to get people just like, oh, really? Wow. Get people interested in it as well. I don't know how much I believe that, but the fact is August 18th was the date that event happened. So, hey, happy anniversary of the killing of many people. A huge light up robot. Well, not a huge robot. It's if you have trouble sleeping, there is now a robot, little like it's for grown-ups. It's almost like a stuffed animal for grown-ups, but it's a robot. It's like a circular thing about the size of a pillow, and you can curl up on it, and it lights up, and it's supposed to keep you warm and safe and help make you feel comfortable, and it's supposed to help you go to sleep for better sleep. The Japanese, I'm going to talk about another really interesting Japanese thing that they created recently that is going to blow your mind. Hey, you know what? Let's talk about it now since it's connected. But this light up thing, I guess if you have trouble sleeping, like my son, good example, my son doesn't like the dark. I don't know why. He's going to be 9 on Saturday, but sometimes your fears just get the better of you sometimes. We got him when he was a baby. Actually, I think it might have been my daughter's too. I've had Glowy for a while. It's this little seahorse thing. It's about this big. It's more like a baby toy, but he still sleeps with it and he still needs it. And I'm okay with that because I like the fact that he has friends, stuffed animals that he likes to cuddle with, that makes him, feel safer. I'm okay with that. I had some up to a certain point when I was a kid, even older than he was. And I'm okay with that. I had bits and pieces of my blanket. My wife still sleeps with her blankets from when she was a baby. So, she doesn't like suck on them and stuff like that. She, the blankets are there, but they're behind her pillow, and she can, scrub it with her fingers, or if she wants to, it's on top of her head sometimes. And, she just, it just is on her sometimes. We'll see. But it's this little, I guess it'd be like a seahorse thing. It's a plush seahorse, but has a hard belly. And when you squeeze the belly lights up and it plays music, like a nice little quiet, dun, 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 that type of classical type of song, and some other stuff as well. And you hear bubbling noises. Bloop, 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 bloop. So it's very calming, very relaxing. And my son still sleeps with it. And, to be honest, I've always needed to sleep with some sort of sound thing. I've gotten past that, particularly when the winter comes. I don't want to sleep with a fan on because it gets freezing cold up, not freezing cold, but it's chilly up in my bedroom. So I need to have sound sometimes too. I like to have the fan on and hear the fan going, stuff like that, or white noise or whatever. So this little robot thing that grown-ups can, and I guess kids can too, can hug it. I guess it's comfy enough that it's comfortable enough, but it's supposed to be a warm glow and supposed to, be like a grown-up sort of stuffed animal type of thing. So I think that's kind of neat. But the other thing I wanted to talk about that the Japanese did, actually I'll do a couple inventions. This one isn't Japanese, but this one is. Where is it? Japanese engineers have created a car that transforms into a robot with people in it. So now, we all know the Transformers, and we know how popular they've been before, but they've actually created a car that if you're driving in it, if you want to transform it into a robot, you can, and it transforms a robot, and you can still be sitting in it. Obviously, it's still under working development, and see how it actually works, and the reasoning why would you need that anyway, besides the cool factor of having a Transformer for your very own. But it's just kind of cool that they actually have the ingenuity to create stuff like that. That's why the Japanese are awesome. Why I'd love to go to Japan sometime. I guess that's on my bucket list. I still should probably do a bucket list thing as well, but Japan is going to be on my bucket list also. I'd like to go to Japan sometime. So I guess we'll just keep on the invention thing, and I'll talk about Sharknado Week, because here's another interesting invention that came out. Your dream of breathing underwater without scuba gear could be becoming more of a reality than you think. They haven't started human trials on this yet, but I think it's some sort of Swedish firm has created this. I'm still not quite sure how it works. It's a device that you put on the chest, but also you put over the mouth also. But it's not cumbersome like a scuba gear is, and you're not like wearing a wetsuit and stuff like that. And you don't have all the goggles and stuff like that. This is just a little thing over the mouth and something over the chest. And I still don't quite understand how it works, but when I read the article, the basic premise they said is that this is almost acts, the thing on the belly and over the mouth acts almost like a filter where the water goes in, but what happens is once it enters that filter thing, it breaks it down into oxygen that goes into the body and the CO2 that goes out into the water. Now, I don't know how that happens, how that could happen. They haven't done human trials yet, but they've figured out a way that this might work. And how is that going to work? And what is this thing on your body? Are you going to have something connected to your lungs, or is that just a filter that's, I don't know, does the filter come in this way and then it shoots up to your, is there something I missed? There's like a pipe or something that leads up to the mouth guard so that the water coming in this, I don't know. They're saying it's sort of supposed to put a protective oxygen bubble around you, but not really type of thing. As I said, the article was they're just starting it, but it was, I guess, another clickbait type of article, but it still was enough of an interest that I did click on it. I read it, and I couldn't quite grasp. But they weren't giving me a lot of information. It wasn't because I'm not smart. It was just all it was this little thing on the belly and a little thing over the mouth, and it's supposed to break down the water into its particles and have the O2 come into your body and the CO2 out the door. So I don't know, but that's still quite. If they can create that. It could be pretty cool. And then the last invention is the holographic digital wife is now on sale for $1,352. Now, I did not click on this one. The picture looks like basically like it's a box, and it has the holographic woman in it, and it's got this guy like looking in on and like that. So I don't know the reasoning of it. I don't think the Now, when you think hologram, you would think that it would project the hologram of the woman out into a full-size woman so you can interact with it that way instead of having to sit in front of the table and go, "Hi, Alexa, how are you?" And that's the digital wife. But I don't need a digital wife. I have a wife. I mean, I guess if you're older and you haven't been able to find somebody and you want to have that relationship, or you just want to maybe practice before you decide you want to get married. I don't know what you can use it for. I'm sure there's something useful for it. I don't know. But I just, I don't know. I really don't know. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about this next thing, and it's going to be a segue to Sharknado week. Scientists have discovered in real life a two-headed shark in the water. The Asylum, which is a production company, they made a movie called Two-Headed Shark Attack. This is the first of the Shark Attack movies, and we'll talk about the sixth one a little later. I interviewed the director of Three-Headed Shark Attack a couple years ago. So it's a series of movies. His name was Chris Olin Ray. So an actual two-headed shark was discovered in the water. Now, it's not that big of a discovery so much because there have been two-headed animals discovered all over the place. There's two-headed cats, two-headed mice, two-headed goats, stuff, sheep. There have been multiple stories of two-headed animals. Now, it's not normal, obviously, and don't know why or how it's happening. But the fact of the matter is, it just makes the most logical sense, particularly with leading into Sharknado week. So Sharknado week is the week where they show all the sci-fi shows, all these shark movies. They're all new movies that they've contracted out or bought from other production companies. The Asylum is one of those that does a bunch of them. They did Six-Headed Shark Attack. They do Sharknado, and they did Nightmare Shark. And actually, I think they might have done Megalodon too. Very possible. So last week on the show, I gave you a listing of what Sharknado week was going to be. Last Sunday was Deep Blue Sea 2, which I skipped again because it was 8 to 10, and I had to do my show because I came back from vacation that weekend. Then Monday night was Megalodon. Tuesday night was Santa Jaws, which we're going to talk about in much detail because that was the best shark movie of the week. Wednesday was Frenzy. Thursday was Nightmare Shark. Friday, they didn't do a shark movie because it was their TV show night. Saturday was Six-Headed Shark Attack, and tonight is Sharknado, and then that's it, Sharknado 6, and then that's it. They're not going to do any more of these sci-fi movies again, probably. They used to do some around Halloween, but I don't think they did any last year. and they used to do some around Christmas, and I don't think they're doing that again this year. But they have a potential one they can re-show on Christmas, Santa Jaws. We'll talk about that in a second. So we're going to go down. We're going to break down all the movies, just give a quick review of all of them, because usually the Snarkalics used to do a Sharknado week after show. So after the movies came on, we would come on and we'd do a discussion for 30 minutes to an hour. And usually Kelly Toole and I would start the Sharknado week off with our Sharknado week intro special. And then the reason why is because we haven't done as many shows before. After the Snarkalics became fairly famous, Tony Solo, who brought us all together, came with the idea of creating shows via YouTube, which is obviously where this show came from. I'm a spinoff of the original Snarkalic Radio, which included Tony, Kelly, Mel, and Mike Polinsky. And for a while there, Snarkalic Radio lasted 88 episodes, and it was aired on Mike's Loud and Loaded satellite TV or satellite radio station. But after a while, it wasn't working, and so they were just doing it via YouTube. But then it was hard every week to do a weekly show because they were redoing the same old stuff. And around that time was when Sci-Fi was not doing their typical movies, so there really wasn't a lot. They had to scrounge to cover stories. But they were able to use some contacts, and they got some big stars to come in on the show. And a bunch of the Snarkalics joined in as well. I was on a bunch of episodes. My wife Dawn was on a bunch of episodes as well. And it was a blast. And it lasted 88 episodes. But before that happened, when in the midst of the bigness that was Snarkalic Radio, Tony came with the idea of, why don't we have some spinoffs? And one of the spinoffs was this very show, Dylan Knows. I am actually now the longest running Snarkalic show. Not that I'm tooting my own horn. The reason why is because around the same time, Kelly and Melissa did their spinoff show, which for the life of me, Kelly's going to kill me, as something Nurture and Support. That's what it is, Nurture and Support, where it is a YouTube show. Actually, it's more of a what do you call those things now? My mind isn't working. Podcast now, where they recommend stuff every week. So Kelly recommends something, Mel recommends something, they discuss it, and that's it. So it's usually about half an hour. And then Mike and Kelly did a spinoff show. He's going to kill me again because I can't remember the name of his show either. Oh, God, they're going to kill me. Not that they watch this show anyway. And I'm not even going to worry about it right now. Squat Cobbler. Got it. It was Squat Cobbler is their show. They're still doing that, but that's more of a music show. They talk about the music that they like and stuff like that. And we had Jeans, who I haven't seen in a really long time. She did Bring Out Your Geek, which was another show which she did with Bronwyn, who was on who did a show with me for a little bit, and Kelly was on there a lot too. So we had all those spinoffs going on, and right now. And then we did the Snooze. After Snarkalic Radio folded, Tony wanted me and him to do a show called The Snooze once a month. And that sort of folded last fall. Tony went through some really bad stuff. And plus, it was mostly a discussion about Walking Dead. And I haven't watched Walking Dead in forever. So we just decided to not do it. Will we do another one? We'll see. 2019, maybe we'll get the band back together and we'll do some more Snooze. I'll run it past Tony, but it probably won't be until 2019. I might run it by him back in December and say, hey, man, do you want to restart this up again in January? We can figure some other stuff out, or we can do a reunion show or whatever, because I miss talking to Tony. I do. And so we had that going on also. So during this period of time when we were doing the after shows, we would divide them up. So like Kelly and I would do the startup show, and then there'd be the Snooze would do the after show of a show, and Squat Cobbler would do the after show of a show. My show, Dylan Knows, would do the after show of a movie. Bring Out Your Geek would do an after show of a movie. And then maybe, I guess down the line, Squat Cobbler maybe did one as well. Or we did one where it was like a Snarkalic Radio reunion type of thing where we discuss that stuff. So up till last year, we had done it. We did a couple. Kelly and I did the intro show last year, and then I did a couple of shows for Dylan Knows last year, and I think we did a snooze also. And I'm pretty sure Kelly and Mel did a nurture and support as well, or there was a squat cobbler in there. But we were all supposed to come back for Sharknado, but we just dissolved or fizzled or something. I don't think we did that. And from that point on, we didn't do anything. So Kelly didn't want to do another one. I was almost tempted to say, hey, Kel, do you want to do a startup show again? But I didn't watch Deep Blue Sea 2, and I would have loved to do one for Santa Jaws, and we probably should have. But again, the good news was these movies were on from 9 to 11, but it was during the week. So I got to watch the whole thing, but by the time they were over, it was 11 o'clock, and I get up at 5:30. So it was like, oh, God, it's going to be like by the time I got to bed, it's like a 6-hour sleeping time instead of 7 to 8, which I'm usually used to. So we just didn't do it. So I figured I'd just throw out a little bit of everything this week. So I didn't see Deep Blue Sea 2, and to be honest, I have no desire to see Deep Blue Sea 2, so skip. But then Monday was Megalodon, and interesting story about Megalodon, but we'll get that in a second. But Megalodon, obviously, these sci-fi bad movies, they like to, if there's a popular film out there now, they like to do their own version of it. So that movie, The Meg, with Jason Statham was out last week, so they came up with Megalodon. And it's basically the same premise, really. I mean, well, not really, to be honest, because it's supposed to be a megalodon is attacking a naval warship. And that was supposed to be what the movie was about. So you had giant shark was supposed to be attacking a naval airship. A typical shark attack film. So you're like, okay, this could be kind of boring. Instead, what we got was a good old-fashioned Cold War thriller with a little bit of shark action and not even a lot of shark action. And that was one of the things that we discussed on Twitter, was the fact that the shark action was a little missing. This giant megalodon's out there just hanging around this naval warship, but is not really doing anything. And to be honest, he didn't kill really anything. He didn't eat anyone, really, to be honest. He ate two guys that just popped up out of nowhere wearing Hawaiian shirts and drinking beer. He jumped, you could see it underground come up and under the water come up and ate that boat. He ate a whale. And he attacked a Russian submarine at the beginning of the film. And half of the Russian submarine was destroyed, so we killed that. But the other one was sealed off, so they survived. So this naval warship discovered this submarine, and they went down in this submersible and got them, but then the shark ate the submersible. But they survived and got out, and so they got back onto the Navy ship. And the Russians were, the evil Russians, they were trying to tap into the NATO code lines that were running underneath the Atlantic Ocean. And that's why the submarine was there. And so the Americans were, trying to, keep them at bay, but the Russians outsmarted some of them. And so the Russians started trying to take over the boat while letting everyone get attacked by the megalodon, which, again, as I said, really barely showed up in the movie. And then they had to work together to kill it. I don't know why, because they were heading towards Hawaii, but it wasn't really affecting anybody. Regardless, it was a different type of movie than you expect from The Asylum. And I said it literally seemed like a rehash of The Hunt for October, but the Russians were bad, and there happened to be a giant shark sort of hanging around. But the majority of the stuff was a lot of Cold War-esque type of stuff going on, trying to get the Russians to talk about what they're doing, and the Russians trying to take over the U.S. naval ship. But the funny thing is, one thing we like about these movies is a lot of the actors and directors and producers and writers, they interact with us while the movie's going on, and they tweet us, and that's one of the reasons why it trends also. The lead actor who plays like the commanding officer or whatever, apparently had been interacting with a bunch of people on Twitter, including my wife. I'm not jealous, because I absolutely trust my wife with my life, and I know where her how she feels about me, and she would never like cheat or whatever. Regardless, but I was just curious because I saw her talking, she said something, hey, this guy retweeted me and was responding to me and stuff like that. And I didn't know who she was talking about, so she gave me the name, and I clicked on the link to his Twitter page. And it comes up. It's, as I said, I discovered that it's the bald-headed commander of the main star of the movie. He has me blocked on Twitter. I have no idea what I did or said because I hadn't made any. I didn't even know who the guy was when it came up, and I had to see the picture of him in his Twitter. I had to see, who is this guy? I don't know who this guy is, and I don't think I was overly mean to his character. He didn't really do anything dumb. I was mean to the whole. Did my Twitter thing to the whole thing. I focused mostly on the fact that the shark was barely in it, and it was a Cold War movie type of thing, and the Russian American stuff that's going on in the government right now. It was a lot of my jokes were, and yeah, and I have a couple theories. One, during commercial breaks, when I was reading other people's tweets, and I was also reading tweets that weren't involved with Megalodon. Some of them are anti-Trump ones, which I always retweet because I'm an anti-Trumper. So I retweeted those. All right, so I thought that was for me. Hey, you guys aren't watching my show. Why the hell are you connecting me on there? So I thought maybe it was because he might be a Trumper, or a guy who backs Trump and didn't like what I was saying, so he blocked me. But the funny thing is, Dawn was doing some, pretty veiled but very in-your-face comments about the whole Russian-American thing going on right now. So she was doing similar stuff as well, but he was still interacting with her, which leads to number two. Maybe he found out that she was married to me, and he wanted to flirt with her without me finding out, so he blocked me. I don't buy that one, and I don't really even buy the anti-Trump one either. And I don't know why he would block me, because again, as I said, I didn't know who this person was. My third theory is that it's possible that he had blocked me before this movie, but I never paid much attention to it because I don't follow him. I didn't even know who he was. And it could have been that he could have been in another movie that I tweeted a few years ago, last year, 5 years ago, whatever it was. He didn't like the comments I made or said, and he blocked me then, because that's the only thing I can think of that he blocked me. It had to have been during a tweet out of one of these sci-fi B movies, and that very well could be what it is. I'm not very overly mean to specific people. I try not to be. I try to be a good person. So I don't understand why he blocked me. Now, he's not the only quasi-celebrity who's blocked me. Zach Bagans of Ghost Adventures has blocked me, and I know why he did that. And that one could be kind of personally my fault. I retweeted something that one of my favorite comic book writers, Ron Mars, wrote about him, calling him Douche Baggins, which I thought was freaking hilarious. Because if you've ever seen Ghost Adventures, he's kind of this bulky alpha male type of guy, dude bro guy. And I love Zach, don't get me wrong. I love it. He's perfect for that show. And but it's just funny that the way he acts, a lot of people call him Douche Baggins, and I thought it was funny, so I retweeted Ron Mars. And as soon as I hit that, he blocked me. And so I understand that that's why he blocked me. Now, I know why Zach blocked me. I don't know why this other guy blocked me, but those are my theories that I have. All in all, the film wasn't actually too bad. Obviously, the special effects were awful because the naval boat, looked like it was a boat in a bathtub. And the shark was really, really fake looking. So, and then Michael Madsen was the big star who came in and chewed the scenery here and there, and it was just funny. It was just fun. So Megalodon actually wasn't too bad. The movie of the week was on Tuesday. It is now going to be a Christmas classic here at the Lang household. I'm going to get my daughter to watch it this Christmas. I don't think my son will like it. It's still kind of a little scary, but I think my daughter will dig it and get it funny. Santa Jaws. Now, when they announced this a ways back, and I mentioned it on the show a ways back. I was like, this is really would be kind of interesting to see what they're going to do with that. And when I read the description last week, I was like, it's got kind of a Home Alone type of vibe to it. And I mentioned that when I started my tweet, and the director or producer or something like that was watching, and he responded back to me, saying, yeah, that's pretty much what I was planning on. He didn't block me, by the way. He interacted with me a little bit, not too much, but he did interact with me a little bit. And then one of the actor, one of the characters in the movie owns a comic book store. The actor who played him, he interacted with me a lot more. But we'll get to that in a second. So Santa Jaws had before the movie even started, and it was like, this is like the poster type of thing. It was a crude drawing of a shark with a Santa Claus hat on the fin. And Jerry Fletcher, who, is on my show, and I'm going to get her back on. She had just gone through a house renovation and has been away she was in a European vacation for a while. Her house is being renovated, so I'm just going to let her get settled down. September, we'll probably get Jerry back, and I will get back to a regular routine of our top 10 list again. Same with me and MJ. I just haven't gotten a chance to talk to MJ and get his take on things. And comic books, are still a big thing, and we'll get back to that probably in September also. So we've got a couple more weeks. We got about 2 weeks of just straight up solo Dylan Knows, and then I'll do some more MJ and Jerry stuff, and then some more solo stuff as well. But so Jerry commented, I hope in this movie we get to see the Santa Claus hat on the shark. And Lisa Marie Bowman's like, yeah, I hope so too. So sure enough, we see from the first scene of the film, the shark's got the Santa Claus hat on its fin. Now here's the thing though, the first scene of the film is how the boy who drew it saw it in his head. The story takes place about a young boy, not young boy, he's probably a teenager, 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid, who's a comic book artist. And his best friend is the writer of the comic, and they created this character called Santa Jaws. So they made this comic book, and it's been pretty good, and they were happy with it. And they gave it to their friend who runs the local comic book store, who again is the actor that tweeted a lot more to me. Unfortunately, his character was more the cliched comic book guy type of stuff from The Simpsons that you expect, and nobody was coming to the comic book store, which is BS. Well, not necessarily BS, because one of the weird things about the movie was nobody seemed to be in that town except for the main characters. There was like no extras or people running around last-minute Christmas gifts or any cars on the road. It was just this group of people running around an empty town, and we'll get to a little bit soon. So then, they're going to have a big party on Christmas Eve at the comic book store, and the boy wants to go to it, and he goes home, and he sees that his uncle, who is this rich guy, lives in Vegas or whatever, has brought his new wife, who is a big-bosomed, bubbly, dumb blonde type, home for Christmas. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And he lives with his pop, and his mom and his dad, and his older brother, who is the loved brother. Everyone loves him better. He's a successful baseball player in college, that type of stuff. And the dad is a school teacher at the school where his younger son goes, and the mom runs a restaurant. And the mom has a Christmas Eve tradition where she has a Christmas Eve dinner for like the homeless or something like that on Christmas Eve. So she's got to get ready for that. So she's all run all over the place. But the boy got in trouble for drawing an unflattering picture of one of the principal at the school, who's basically his dad's boss. So they ground him the day before Christmas Eve. And so he's pissed about that. And so he goes outside and is storming around, and he discovers the girl across the street who he's in love with sees him, and he tries to be cool, but he can't because he's so angry and mad. So then Christmas Eve morning, before that. So at night, he's all mad and pissed off. He discovers that his grandpa, who is one of the people that actually is pretty cool to him and loves him, stuff like that, has given him an early Christmas present. It is a pen. It's got German writing on it, and the grandfather calls it a magic pen. So the boy, still being pissed at his parents, he draws Santa Jaws, which is like the character that he's been drawing forever, and draws him a big picture with this magic pen. It's like, yeah, I wish you could eat all my family up. I don't care about them. And then it cuts to that night, and then all of a sudden this twinkly lights happen, and Santa Jaws lands into the Louisiana water. They're in Louisiana, into the little lake or stream or river or whatever they have there, and jumps in there, and he looks exactly like the drawing with the fin on there. He's got jingle bells on, Christmas lights, and he's got red eyes like Rudolph's nose. So the next morning, Christmas Eve, Pop comes in early in the morning and says, "Did you forget about our Christmas Eve tradition of our early morning fishing trip?" And the boy's like, "Oh, I've been grounded and I really don't want to go." But he eventually acquiesces, and he and his grandfather go to their usual fishing hole. And grandfather gets his special eggnog out, probably filled with rum, and drinks a little bit of it and says, "Here," to the boy, "do you want some?" And he drinks a little bit, but it slips and falls, and it spills into the water. And so while they're still fishing, they start hearing jingle bells, jing, jing, and they don't know where it's coming from. So the grandpa is like, "I think it's coming from the water." So he beeps down, and all of a sudden Santa Claus comes up and eats grandpa and sucks him back down. And so the boy sees it, and he's like, "Oh my God, that's my creation. That's Santa Jaws." So he runs to his folks and tells them that Pop was killed, eaten by a shark. They don't believe him, and they ground him even more further and says, "You have to stay in the house while we do our own Christmas Eve stuff." So he breaks that and says, "No, I gotta save people." So he goes to his friend who helped write Santa Jaws to try to explain to him, "Santa Jaws is real. Just ate my Pop. And we're all in danger. We need to get rid of him." And his buddy doesn't believe him. The comic book guy doesn't believe him. So eventually he's able to talk his buddy to go down with him to the water. Now, his uncle and his new aunt are going to be in the boat parade on Christmas Day. So they're getting the boat prepped. And they get eaten by Santa Jaws in front of, well, the uncle gets eaten. The bubbly blonde doesn't get eaten until later. So his friend sees Santa Jaws eat the uncle, and so they go back and they're able to get the older brother to come join them soon, and then they get the girl who he likes to come join him also. So they're going around trying to save people from Santa Jaws, figure out a way to stop him. And that's the premise of the movie, is Santa Jaws is systematically killing his family while they're trying to stop it, and they don't know how to stop it. They've tried different things, and it's just not working because it's a magic shark. So they get the pen, they try different things with the pen, and it's not working either. So the premise of the film is they have to figure out how to do it before everybody gets killed. But it's got a nice little Christmas twist to it. It's not overly grotesque. It's not overly horrific. It's actually a very fun, refreshing, entertaining film. And I think if you talk to all the Snark Alex, I think of all the movies, who knows about Sharknado 6, but of all the movies this week, I think they would say Santa Jaws would probably be their favorite also. So I DVR'd it, so I have it on my DVR, so it will be going into the Christmas rotation. And I highly recommend, if you get a chance, go see Santa Jaws. It's a fun, brainless 2 hours of your life that, it's a fun Christmassy type of movie, and it's just great. Frenzy was on Wednesday, and this one seemed like it was going to be the worst one of the group. And it was pretty bad, but it had some redeeming moments. This was more of a serious shark film. Basically, the name of my episode today is called The Lit Life. Now, the premise of Frenzy is there's a group of YouTubers who are, one YouTuber, they're on a page, and they do a show called The Lit Life, which is where they go and they do snorkeling or mountain climbing and the extreme sports type of stuff. And it's a group of people, and then it follows them doing the stuff, and then the behind the scenes stuff with relationships and stuff like that. And the woman who runs it gets her sister to come join them for a scuba diving thing. And they take a little airplane to this secluded location, and they don't put the transponder on the plane, but something happens. The plane crashes, and 3 sharks are terrorizing them, and eventually everybody is wiped out except for one woman, the younger sister. And a lot of the movie plays back in flashbacks. It's almost like Lost, that the way that they built the flashbacks in, they'd be seeing of her doing something, and then it would like flashback to her learning that thing or whatever, like they did in Lost. And there was an island, like in Lost, also. So it was a very Lost-esque feel to it, and that was really about it. It was a bit more violent, and a bit more like a scary shark movie. And that's really all I have to say about that. I mean, it didn't really have a lasting impression on me. It was okay. Some good twittering was done on it, good tweeting on it, but yeah, it was okay. It was no Santa Jaws. We missed Nightmare Shark, but the interesting thing about Nightmare Shark was apparently they're trying to create their own expanded universe like the MCU does, Marvel Cinematic Universe does. And this movie was about shark attack survivors who were being plagued by a demonic shark in their dreams, like a Freddy Krueger shark. And the characters who we were following in this movie were in previous shark movies written by Griff First, who is the guy who directed these movies, including Atomic Shark and Trailer Park Shark. So the characters from those movies came back in this one playing the same roles, but this time they were dealing with a demonic Freddy Krueger-esque type of shark. Apparently there's more sex in it, and nudity type of stuff. And I kind of want to see it, so maybe if they rerun it, I'll pop the DVR on that one as well, because we never got around to seeing Trailer Park Shark last year either, so I kind of want to see that as well. So that was kind of neat. And then Saturday rolled around. Yesterday was Six-Headed Shark Attack. Now I was excited for this because I've been enjoying the multi-headed shark movies because they've been kind of fun and goofy. And I interviewed Christopher Olin Ray, who directed the third one, and they were just kind of fun, goofy stuff. So they came to the sixth one, and the most fun thing you want to figure out is how the hell are they going to make a six-headed shark? You know, the five-headed shark was so big they had all four heads in the front. The fifth one had to be on the tail. You know, the third and second ones you can pretty much figure out how to do it. But when you get to the bigger ones, how are you going to do it? In this case, they had two shark heads at the front, two shark heads here, two shark heads here. So it was sort of like a starfish almost. And they had an added twist where if one of the heads got blown off or sawed off or killed or whatever, it would grow back. Just one head. So it wasn't like the Hydra, which would grow two. It grew its own head back. So it would always remain a six-headed shark. Now, this movie was disappointing. It was god-awful boring, mind-numbingly boring. The characters were awful, and I had more fun watching the shark and wish we could have had new characters being attacked by the six-headed shark than the characters we had. The basic premise was this secluded island that used to be in the 1940s was a Nazi lab where they were using all kinds of creations, and they were trying to create like a shark that could heal people or a way to heal people. Like as I said, the heads grow back, figure out a way to people grow back limbs if they get them blown off or have them get removed or something like that. So they created this shark, and he's just been swimming around, I guess, for a while. Anyway, so this island was bought by a couple that wanted to do a marriage boot camp thing. But the couple that was running it, the wife is filing for divorce from the husband, and so she wasn't going to be involved with this group of people, so he had to do it by himself. And the marriage boot camps are for couples that their marriage feels like it's, on the rocks and they need a little bit of help, and it's supposed to be like ways to get teamwork back into, because that's what marriage is a lot of it's teamwork, and to get teamwork back into your vocabulary and the way you do things. And just every character was unlikable and had weird quirks and weird mental changes, or what it was. Just the characters were just awful, and I could care less if any of them survived. What was cool about the movie was the six-headed shark was cool looking, the heads growing back, and it actually was able to walk on land using two of the heads as feet, which was the dumbest thing I've ever seen, but still kind of funny to see that. So that was a six-headed shark attack. Now, I just saw something on my notes I forgot to talk about, so that's all I'm going to say about Six-Headed Shark, because it wasn't that interesting. But what I want to talk about was, of all the films, the one that we missed, Nightmare Shark, was one that another website, Cinema Blend, they picked up on and did a story on it on Friday. About, hey, sci-fi is bringing back the sharks, and Nightmare Shark is just a taste of what they're doing. And in the article, they did tweets from our Snark Alex, three different ones. So I read those like, oh, I know those guys. Yeah, I absolutely do. So I sent them the link and said, hey, you guys are in this website's article about the movie. And it just made me think that hopefully, it would have been cool that if we were doing Nightmare Shark, maybe one of mine would have gotten there, one of Dawn's would have gotten into that story. But I'm happy for the Snark Alex who did get their tweets in there. And as I said, I didn't see Sharknado 6. Let me see if there's any comments from the Snark Alex here, and then I'm gonna have to. I spent a long time on Shark Week, and so I gotta get moving on some of this other stuff. But let's see. Let's see. Did everyone catch the Princess Bride reference? It's like an entire semester of history in 2 minutes. Everyone gets killed, apparently. So, yeah, nothing really updated on it. But it's been over now for 14 minutes, so I don't see anything that's just like, oh, it's a great movie, the best of the series, blah, blah. So no real... so I can't give you any information. So I guess Sharknado 2 is okay. So that's it for Sharknado week. I don't know when we're going to get another sci-fi movie. We'll keep an eye on it, but I don't see it happening anytime soon, which is a shame because it's always fun to get the gang together and do stuff. And this week was a lot of fun. Real quick on Santa Jaws, Kelly Toole's fantastic with puns, and he did probably the best pun I've ever heard in Santa Jaws. So after Pop Pop gets killed near a pier, and the boy goes back, and he goes back with his friend to investigate. Kelly writes something like, oh, great, they're going back to Pier Not Well. Père Noël. I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and I laughed my ass off, literally. Well, not literally because it's still there, but I laughed out loud. I LOL'd out loud, and I retweeted that. I favorited it, and I wrote him a response saying, this was an outstanding tweet. He's like, thank you, sir. And it was. And so I'm giving them credit. The tweet of the week belongs to Kelly Toole with his Pier Not Well pun, which I think was fantastic. So that's it for all that. Real quick, I was thinking about this a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to actually do this, but this might be something I might introduce into my Dylan Knows show, because there are a few people I'd like to get on the show, and I keep saying that. I only get really Jerry and MJ on here, and I'd like to get other people to come back on here. I kind of want to do like an episode of Dylan Knows maybe once a month or once every few months called Quid Pro Quo, where I just interview a complete stranger or a friend via this way and just ask them questions about their life, and then they can ask me questions about my life. It's just an idea I had. I don't know if it's actually going to come to anything, because I've had lots of ideas before, and I don't know about that. So I'm just going to keep going down the line. Comic news related. The Buffy the Vampire Slayer license that was done by Dark Horse. They were doing comics for Buffy the Vampire Slayer and other Joss Whedon stuff. Dr. Terrible, Firefly, or Dr. Horrible, Firefly. I don't think they've ever done any other ones. Dark Horse was doing the comics for those. Fox, who owns Buffy, has taken them away from Dark Horse. So Dark Horse will no longer be doing any Joss Whedon comics. Not Joss Whedon's decision. It's Fox's decision, who owns the rights to the stuff. So it's kind of depressing, because they've been doing, Dark Horse does really good with their licensees. They do Predator and Aliens and Terminator and RoboCop, and I actually think RoboCop's someone else now. But they've done some good ones. They have Game of Thrones, I think, is one of theirs too. Or is that Dynamite? I'm not sure. But they have a bunch of them. So it's a shame they're losing it. They'll be okay though. Tom Cruise is a front runner to play Green Lantern in the new Green Lantern movie. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Tom Cruise is a pretty good actor. He's a little out there for me. I don't know if he is would be a good Hal Jordan. I mean, I guess a lot of it would be the character he played in Top Gun. But basically, I mean, that was basically kind of like what Hal Jordan is. But I just don't. It's just something about I just don't think I like that idea. I say he's just a front runner. There's no guarantee he's going to be in it. That's the name that keeps getting bandied about. What they're going to do a Green Lantern movie, I don't know about that. Could it be a Robert Downey Jr. thing also? Because you get Tom Cruise is not young. He's in his 50s, I think. He's been around since the 80s, as has Robert Downey Jr. And they've had good long careers. And Robert Downey Jr. revitalized his career with Iron Man and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and is now like the god of Marvel Cinematic Universe, whereas Tom Cruise has sort of gotten his stuff back together with the Mission Impossible movies, and he's been doing some different stuff along the way to keep him, happy as an actor. He's not keeping doing the same thing over and over and over again. Would it be okay? Sure, I suppose it would be okay. I mean, I don't know how much of a Hal Jordan I see in him, so we'll see. Will I see it? Again, it depends on the director, how it looks, trailer, stuff like that. If they make it, we'll see. This is interesting. I love like these different blogs and stuff like that where people come up with these crazy theories. There are a bunch of Avengers Infinity War ones with different plans on how they're going to bring back and how they're going to defeat Thanos and bring back the heroes that died and stuff like that. Well, this comes from a blogger. It's not an Avengers one, but it's an actually really interesting idea. And I know it's probably not true because they're totally different, but was Mary Poppins a student at Hogwarts? Because remember, Mary Poppins flies in with her magic umbrella and does magic tricks and stuff like that. And her sequel's coming out around Christmas time, so people are getting back into the Mary Poppins vibe of things. Alan Moore's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen comic that he's done, he did a riff on Harry Potter where Harry Potter was the Antichrist and Mary Poppins was the one that defeated him. So that's kind of interesting as well. It makes sense. She's got magic in her, and she's English. If you're English and you have magic, where else do you learn your magic? Hogwarts. I think it's a good idea. I like the idea. They're never going to bring it up, but I think it's a really cool idea to have Mary Poppins be a Hogwarts alumnus. Now you got to think about which house would she belong to. I'm almost thinking she'd be a fellow Hufflepuff like myself. I don't think she'd be a Gryffindor. I don't think she would be a Slytherin, and I don't think she'd be a Ravenclaw. I don't know that. I mean, she's got aspects of all that, but I just think she'd be more of a Hufflepuff. So we'll see. I love this story just for one reason. A satanic monument was unveiled briefly outside of a Little Rock, Arkansas courthouse. Now, the reason why I like this idea is not because I'm a hardcore Satanist. And to be honest, I follow the Church of Satan on Twitter. And a lot of Satanism and stuff like that is grossly misunderstood. Not that I'm going to become a Satanist or I believe in it, but they're not really the ones. It's like a offshoots are the ones that kill the people and animals and stuff like that. They are more for different things. And it's a fun Twitter feed to read. But what I like about this is because I am an adamant separate church and state. The United States is a country that does not have one religion. Freedom of religion is in the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights of our Constitution. It is our law that you do not have to prescribe to one particular church. You can do any religion you want. If you want to be an atheist, fine, be an atheist. If you want to be a Satanist, fine, be a Satanist. But the Catholics and the Baptists and the evangelicals are trying to push that America is a Christian country. We are not a fucking Christian country. You just got to get your fucking nose out of our shit. I'm Catholic, yes. And you know what? I love all religions. I think Muslim, Jewish, Satanist, populist, atheist, Jesus Christ Scientists, Methodists. Hell, I'll even let the evangelicals and the Baptists be, free as well. They can do their own thing. But when you start pushing your religion on other people, that's not cool. And church and state needs to be separate. I get absolutely crazed with rage when I see these memes and stuff like that. It's like, our schools would be safer if prayer was allowed back into the church or back into the schools. No, because not everybody prays, and not everybody prays the same God. Okay? If you want to have prayer in your school, go to a religious school. You've got plenty of them. There's Catholic schools, there's Jewish schools. Go to those. If you want prayer in your schools, go to them. Public schools are supposed to be a melting pot that has people of all races, creeds, sexes, and religions, and sexual orientations to come in there and learn. I do not want to see prayer in my school. The Pledge of Allegiance, I'm still kind of adamant. I don't like that, and I don't like the fact that the God part of that is. But you know what? I just go with the flow on that one. When it says God, it doesn't necessarily mean your Catholic God. It could be your Muslim God or whatever. So that's why I'm okay with that. But I do not want your religion foisted upon students who do not follow that religion. I do not want Jewish kids or Muslim kids or atheist kids to have to pray to a Catholic God. It's wrong and should not be a part of your schools, nor should it be a part of the government. You can be a hard-up Christian Catholic. That's fine. You can be a hard-up whatever. But do not foist your religion on us. Do not create laws that help your religion and don't help any other religions. That is the total opposite of what religion is. Religion is free here. That's why we come to America. If you want to go to a country where they have one religion, go back to fucking England, okay? That's why we got the fuck out of there, because we want to do our own religion. And now you're trying to turn us into England? Get the fuck out of here. All right? I'm sick of this bullshit. So now we starting to hear things about, well, we need to put the 10 Commandments in, courthouses, and we need to put 10 Commandments in government offices. And again, no. The United States does not have an official religion. We are freedom of religion. That's what makes us our country. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to go to any religion. You can believe in no God. You can believe in God being a giant space alien. I don't give a rat's ass. But keep your religious stuff out of public places or government offices. There is no reason for them to be there. Now, if you keep forcing the issue, and eventually someone passes a bill that says, yeah, you can put a statue of the 10 Commandments or of Moses or of Jesus in a government office. Well, guess what? Any religion should be able to put a religious statue up in a government building then. You allowed a separate religion. We have it in the Constitution, separation of church and state. But you passed a bill that said you can put the 10 Commandments in there. Well, that's just one religion. You're not separating church and state. So you know what? If you're allowing this church to do a statue inside a courthouse, you need to let other people, you need to let the Jewish people, you need to let the Satanists do a statue. And that's exactly what they did. They built a statue to Beelzebub or something like that, and they put it in the courthouse of Arkansas, which is one of these flaccid religious, we got to have religion in all our schools and government offices. They did exactly what they're supposed to. You gave a Christian's statue, so you need to allow other religions to do statues too, because if not, you're being not racist, but you are being a separatist, and that's against the Constitution, and you should be shut down, and we should get that statue demolished. So I thought it was a good job by the Satanists to pop that in there to prove a point. They took it down eventually, so it's not to freak people out in that backwards, white-only supremacist state. And look, if you are from Arkansas and you're not that way, I apologize for the generalization, but from everything I've read about that, it's what it is. It's what the majority of people are down there. I applaud them for that, because once you allow one religion in, you need to allow all religions. It's either all religions or no religions. You cannot pick, well, we want this religion, but not this one. No, that is not fair. It is segregation, and that is against the Constitution. That law is unconstitutional. But no one apparently gives a rat's ass about the Constitution anymore, which drives me absolutely bonkers and which drives me crazy about what's going on right now. There are so many people breaking the Constitution laws and regular laws themselves, and nothing is happening to them. That is what's really disturbing me right now and pissing me off right now. So I applaud the Satanists for that. I think that's a great idea. More superhero stuff and comic book stuff. 13-year-old Arizona boy who survived being struck by lightning is now anticipating getting superpowers. He says, I can't wait to get my superpowers now. Sorry, son, that's not how you work. You were lucky that you survived and didn't get killed. But yeah, you're not going to get any superpowers. Sorry, bud. Got to move on. Deadpool. Deadpool 2 comes out on DVD on Tuesday. The next movie that Ryan Reynolds will be doing as Deadpool will be X-Force. And he's already started the hype machine for that one. There's a website now up that if you want to join X-Force, you can fill out a form and you can join X-Force. Again, that's the one thing I don't like the character of Deadpool, but that's the one thing that I admire about what Ryan Reynolds is doing with the character, because he absolutely loves playing the character. He gets the character, and he pushes the hell out of his movies for this character to make it successful. The first movie was so successful because of what Ryan Reynolds did, making videos, making commercials, interrupting other stuff. And then the second one already had the built-in group, and it became popular because of that. But then he went crazy. He did a Celine Dion video and other stuff as well, and it created this thing where normal people can join X-Force. So now he's doing that for real again. So obviously you're not going to be a part of X-Force. It's a joke. It's funny. And it's to get people talking about the upcoming X-Force movie, which will probably be out for 2 years, but still it'll be funny to if you sign, and who knows, maybe sign up and maybe you'll be mentioned, or maybe they'll call you in and he'll tell you get lost, or he'll shoot you or something like that. That'll be really funny if they do that. Also, always remember that if you want to get people to read, comic books are considered reading. Because yes, it has pictures on it. Yes, it does. But it also has lots of words. And in order to understand, a good comic book, you can figure out what's going on by the artwork. But a good comic book also needs to have a good story and good writing as well. And that's how I learned how to read. I learned how to read very well from reading the comics my dad gave me as Spider-Man. So always remember that if you see somebody reading a comic book, or a kid reading a comic book, or he wants to get graphic novels from the library instead of regular novels, let him. I mean, libraries now have graphic novel sections. They have one for kids, one for young adults, and one for adults. Barnes & Noble, I was there the other day. They have a section now which is all graphic novels. Not all graphic novels mean superheroes. Amelia Rules was a comic I've talked about before, about a life of an 8 to 11-year-old girl. It follows her, going through life and stuff that happens in her life. Hilo is a book that my kids love right now. It's about a robot boy who comes to Earth to try to save it, but it's goofy and it's fun. There's a book about a girl and her unicorn. There's the Raina Telgemeier books. Ghost is one of my absolute favorite books. Drama, Sisters, Smile, all really good. The Babysitter's Club, they did graphic novel adaptations of those books. There's all kinds of stuff. So, if you see your kids reading comic books, don't take it away from them and say, this isn't reading, read a book. Comic books are reading. Libraries know it. Bookstores know it. And now you know it. Jason Blum, who is the creator, producer of the Blumhouse production company that does like horror films. They're the ones who are doing the upcoming Halloween remake, which still looks pretty good. They've done some other stuff as well, but they are like the new horror production company. And he has shown an interest in getting the Dark Universe extended universe back on Target, which is Tom Cruise was in The Mummy. Russell Crowe was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They had Bride of Frankenstein was going to be getting set up. I think Angelina Jolie was up for that role. They were going to do an Invisible Man movie. They already had all the cast and stuff like that already set, and they were just going to make those movies and have them all be within the same universe. And I think a Universal Monsters production extended universe is a good idea. It's just I think I never saw The Mummy, but from what I heard, it was not a great movie, and it was just a bad first impression. But if Blumhouse can get it and maybe set it straight and make it a little bit harder, while keeping the spirit of the Universal Monsters in there, then maybe it's something you might want to look into and might make it interesting. So more power to you. I don't know if this is a true story or not, but I think it's funny, and I don't know if it's real or not, but a guy stops a fight with pizza. There were two guys who were fighting in front of a pizza parlor or whatever, and a guy comes out with a pizza and decides to break up the fight by giving them pizza, and eventually they eat the pizza and they leave. Now, it looks like it's a setup. It probably is a setup, but in general, it's a really neat idea and a funny story if it's true or not. That's all. Oh yeah, that's all set for. I'll do that all in a row. Watchmen, I've had this discussion before, is set for series on HBO. Yawn. We already had a good Watchmen movie, and now they're just trying to fill the hole that Game of Thrones is going to leave, and a bunch of these other films, and it's going to be able to do more things on HBO. So I guess it's a good idea, but Watchmen is a self-contained story. What they're doing is they're going to expand the story, and I'm just, no, I don't need to see that bullshit. So I'm done with that. This is a fun story that I read today, and it was really, it's kind of funny, and I know it's not really true probably, but it's still kind of funny. Winona Ryder, who's been absent from cinema for a while now. I think last time I saw her was she played Spock's mom in the remake of Star Trek. Is coming back to films. She's done successfully with Stranger Things on Netflix. So now her spotlight's coming back up again. So she's starting to do some other movies. Well, her first movie back after getting Stranger Things is something that I don't think she's ever really done before, which is a romantic comedy. And I'm a sucker for romantic comedies, and I love romantic comedies. And I saw the trailer for this. I was like, you know what, this might not be too bad. Because her co-star is one Keanu Reeves, who I think is another underrated actor. Well, he's not really underrated because everybody loves him, but I think he's a great actor as well. And it's called, I think, like Destination Wedding or something like that. And it's about, it's a typical rom-com, a typical single man and woman who don't want to get married and are just kind of grumpy, are going to a friend's wedding. That's a destination wedding, like in Vegas or wine country or something like that. I think it's wine country. And they end up meeting cute in the airplane, and they end up like aggravating each other, but then they end up having to sit next to each other on the airplane over there, and they start talking more and stuff like that, and they still kind of aggravate each other. But then we get to the wedding, we discover that Winona Ryder was in love with the groom, and so she doesn't want to see him get married, but she went because she's crazy, I guess. And her and Keanu, who doesn't want to get married and doesn't want a relationship, whatever, they end up creating this bond, and then they get lost like in the woods and stuff. So they have to survive on each other. So it's a romantic comedy. You know, in the end, they're going to get together and stuff like that. And there was a couple really good lines in the in the trailer, which made it sound really funny. It looks like it's going to be a good romantic comedy. Well, they're starting. That movie comes out next weekend, not this week, not this weekend coming up, but next weekend, the Labor Day weekend. And so they're starting to do press for it. So Keanu and Winona have been doing press together, because that's what you do when you have two stars in a romantic comedy. You get them together and you interview them together, and they get the playful banter between them. For those who don't remember, the two of them worked together previously in Francis Ford Coppola's adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is actually not a bad movie. Interesting cast: Anthony Hopkins, Gary Oldman, Winona, Keanu. It was kind of a weird time, and the movie is a little off kilter. And it also has a personal connection to me. My biggest girlfriend I had in college. This was like our first date movie. Well, we watched Winona and Reality Bites, and that's when we decided we were going to start dating, because we've been flirting for a few weeks before then. And so we decided we were going to date after we watched that movie. So then her roommate was out for the weekend. So I had a copy of Dracula, and my ex-girlfriend, she has an obsession with vampires. So I put the movie in and we watched it, but we did other stuff, but that's none of your concern right now. But that movie was playing while we were doing other stuff, and that's besides the point. Anyway, so the two of them were in that movie, and they played a couple that got married. Now, Francis Ford Coppola likes to keep things as realistic as he possibly can. So he actually got a real Romanian priest to perform the ceremony between Keanu Reeves' character and Winona's character. And they both said, "I do." And it was the full wedding thing. They did the whole thing. Do you take this in sickness and health, blah, blah. So Winona, in one of these interviews, just sort of throws out, like, what I was thinking recently, Keanu, I think we're really married in real life. And Keanu's like, what? What are you talking about? And she said, no, listen, go with me. And she described, remember when we were in Romania filming this, and Francis got this, real Romanian priest, and we went through the whole thing, and Keanu's right. And Keanu's like, and we said yes, right? And she's like, yeah, we did. And so she's like, I think we're married. I know, because there's no official paperwork that's been, and that's how you get married. It doesn't matter all this other stuff about getting married. If you do not have the marriage license, you're not really married. The marriage license is what makes you married. That's married. That's why people who don't want a church ceremony or a special ceremony or whatever, they go to City Hall. They sign the wedding license, and they might do a little, do you, okay, you're good, done, you're married. The wedding license is what makes you married in the eyes of government, law, whatever. Now, in the eyes of God, or whatever God you believe in, your traditional religious wedding would be that way, and that's where that comes in. So there is no wedding certificate, and besides, they were playing characters that were getting married. So it wasn't Keanu and Winona getting married; it was their characters, Jonathan Harker and Myrna, getting married. So it wouldn't really be a real one, but it's just funny that I think we're really married because there was a real priest and we really said yes. So it's just kind of a funny story when it comes to discussing a romantic comedy, and that's probably the reason why she's doing what she's doing. Some interesting news about Mars. Was Beaker the Muppet spotted on Mars? And one of the satellites that's been taking pictures from above Mars, close up in high-def details of the land, mountains, and stuff like that, sent back a picture to NASA about this crater. That's a circular crater, and has these two little more interior craters, and this third one that makes it look like the Muppet Beaker, the big googly eyes and the big nose and the little line of a mouth. The way that these craters looked, it had the big googly eyes and the big googly nose, and had sort of that weird off-kilter look that Beaker has. So everybody was going crazy, like, oh my God, Beaker is on Mars. And it's not, it happens, NASA also has not received any information or hasn't heard from their Opportunity rover since after the massive planet-wide sandstorm. It's been dissipated now. So during it, obviously, they weren't going to get anything because they shut it down. But they think that after the sandstorm dissipated, Opportunity, which was already on its last legs anyway, something happened to it, and it is irrevocably damaged and probably will not be sending back any more information. Now, they're still hopeful. They're going to keep trying. Maybe there's some issues that it's having. But as of now, it looks like that opportunity is now officially dead. Now, there's still another one down there, I think. So we're still going to get pictures, but it is officially, this one is officially dead, it looks like. Any other space ones before I get into something else? No. Kofi Annan died. He was a UN secretary type of guy, was friends with Aretha Franklin. So he died shortly after Aretha did. I don't really know much about Kofi, but I don't think he was a bad guy. I think he was a good guy. So, rest in peace, Kofi. Rob Gronkowski, tight end for the New England Patriots, is quite the character. Party animal, big bulky dude, sometimes does some funny stuff. Apparently, and he's one of the better tight ends out there, so he's getting paid a lot of money. Well, unlike a lot of other athletes, he hasn't touched his fortune. It's just sort of sitting in the bank. I'll get to it maybe when I retire. I'll live my life then. But for now, he's not going crazy. He's not buying giant houses or cars or stores or land or whatever. He's just sort of chilling, doing his own thing. Well, apparently he dipped into his savings a little bit to buy something. I didn't read the article, but the fact is, for 8 years, a pretty good athlete who's been getting paid multi-million dollars has not even touched his money. And that's pretty refreshing in this age of sports people who are broke and retired by the age of 45 because they didn't know how to handle their money, because they got $20 million a year playing football. And so they spent it like water. And then once they retired and we're not getting paid that anymore, the money just started disappearing more and more, and they're like, oh god, I'm broke. So they have to start selling like their Super Bowl rings and paraphernalia and stuff like that, and that's sad stories. So good on him for doing that. Oh, I missed this one for space. Iron and titanium found on an ultra hot Jupiter-esque exoplanet. I guess that's interesting for NASA, because to find iron and titanium in another planet not in our universe is astounding, I suppose. Again, I don't know how they figured that out from just some satellite recons and telescope pictures. I don't know, but they do. Mysterious X-378 military space plane has been orbiting the Earth now for a year, and nobody has any idea what it's doing or why it's there. So that's a conspiracy thing. It's not the same as the Black Knight satellite that's been around since before we even went into space, or even the Russians went into space. So that's a completely different thing. So we don't know about that. Let's do some marijuana stories. First, good marijuana stories. They've created marijuana chewing gum that can help fibromyalgia patients. And of course, people who are able to get it, a free hit of marijuana through gum. Okay, I suppose that's interesting. Bad marijuana story. 70 people have suffered overdosed in a park, I think in Chicago or something like that, from a new strain of marijuana called synthetic marijuana. And 70 people have overdosed on it. It's supposed to be more powerful than your typical marijuana. It's supposed to be more psychotropic or something like that. But 70 people have overdosed within a span of like 2 days since this has been hitting the market. So something not good about the synthetic marijuana. That doesn't make any sense to me, because if you're a drug dealer, you don't want to kill your source of income. Now, the way they get you hooked is they give you a free sample, or they give it to you for $1 or $5 or something that you can afford. So you take the hit of whatever the drug is, and you get addicted to it, and you come back and they say, oh, I need my fix. Can I have another one for $5? You'd be like, $5 is the introductory price. It's jacked up now to $25 per gram or something like that. So that's how they make their money. And then if they can't handle it, get out of my sight. I don't want to see you anymore, and they suffer and they die. It's a business. But whoever released the synthetic marijuana either didn't know that this was going to happen, or they did and they wanted to wipe out people and kill people to give them the drugs. And that would make them a terrorist or a serial killer. And kind of thing is like, that would probably be an interesting way of killing people if you were a serial killer, is to create a synthetic poison drug and kill people that way. Just a thought. It's not a good thought. I'm not saying it was, but the fact that that happened is sick. On a lighter note, Aldi, the local grocery store that's popped up around here every once in a while, last year overseas, people were going crazy for the wine advent calendar for adults. The wine advent calendar will be making its way into all the grocery stores around the country, except in Maryland, probably because Maryland does not allow alcoholic beverages to be sold in their grocery stores. Virginia does. I think Delaware does. I think Pennsylvania does. I'm not sure about Pennsylvania because when I went to college, they didn't really have alcoholic beverages in there. But I know Virginia does because my sister lives in Virginia and I've gone to their grocery store before. And lo and behold, there's a whole bunch of alcohol. Or North Carolina does because when I've been down at the Outer Banks, I get the alcohol at like your Weiss markets too. And it's good shit too. I mean, it's not like the cheap swill that they offer around that. So, I mean, that's good for those who like that. And I kind of wish they maybe would be a little bit lax here in Maryland, but it's probably not going to happen. But, a wine advent calendar is a really neat idea, and maybe a liquor store could jump on that and create their own in Maryland. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen, but still a neat idea. So for those in America who've heard about this, if your grocery store sell alcohol, huzzah, you'll be able to start getting this these wine Christmas advent calendars starting this Christmas. Almost done here. Kind of a sick story. Gerard Jones, who was a comic book writer, has been incarcerated to 6 years in jail for like a child pornography stuff that he's had involved with. And it's a shame now because that's, what he did is sick and disgusting. He's also was a pretty damn good writer, wrote a couple really good comics I enjoyed, like El Diablo and Trouble with Girls. But now, I'm never going to see an El Diablo trade paperback now because of this, which is a shame because not Mike Wieringo, but there was a artist who died young, was the main artist on it, and it's fantastic artwork, and I love it, and I want it copped. I want it in trade. I have the comics, but they're buried somewhere in my comics. And it's a shame, Gerard Jones wrote Green Lantern for a while also, and has written a lot of really good stories. Trouble with Girls was his independent book, which was kind of interesting as well. The first, really kind of, I guess there might be a little sex in this episode. The first, real sex book that I heard, because Girls is this secret agent, like James Bond type, but he's got this, he's like a Boy Scout type of, he's a good guy who happens to be a secret agent. And he also apparently has a big schlong because there are sex scenes where all the women say the same things like, don't stop, over and over again. You don't actually see penetration or whatever, but they're having sex and they're orgasming because of his giant schlong. So a little bit of sex made its way in there. Excellent. So we're never going to see that either, which is a shame. But child pornography is sick. It just is. I'm sorry. Seeing little kids like the age of my kids doing that kind of stuff, no, that's disgusting. I'm sorry. It is. I even have, I can't even watch, like 16-year-olds, some of these porn sites have like 16-year-old pornography out there. I don't want to watch that. I don't watch it. But that just wouldn't arouse me either, I don't think. That's enough of that sex talk. I'm done with that. Dodger Stadium is getting closer to an aerial tram system, I guess, to, I don't know, get from the parking lot to your seat maybe, and it'll be over I don't know how it works. It's kind of a neat idea to put it like over the stadium or whatever, and you can make it to the top of the stadium instead of having to walk all the way down and out. You can just get on the tram and take you back to the parking lot. It'd be kind of cool. Then there's also, I think it's Elon Musk is also trying to create like an underground tunnel thing, either for the Dodgers or the Angels or some California team. He's trying to create like this underground tunnel thing that'll make it easier for people to get to the stadium without having to go through all the traffic and parking lot mess and stuff like that. So to be continued, I guess. Pokemon Go stuff is happening again. Reggie Rock is now the new raid boss, legendary raid boss. He's going on till like mid-September, so we've got about a month of him. I had my first Reggie Rock raid today, didn't get him. But that's not even the big news. The big news, I'm not going to do that either. Chikorita is going to be September's Community Day Pokemon. It's only going to be a one-day thing. The Eevee one was a one-time thing where it was 2 days and stuff like that. They're going back to the 1 day, 3 hour period, and Chikorita is going to be the Community Day one. Of course, shinies and special move and stuff like that. It's like September 20th, I think, is that one. But the big news is Monday, August 20th, is going to be Celebi Day. Mew was the first mythical that was released into the game, and we had to go through like 10 different research tasks to get him. And they're going to be doing that now for all the mythicals. Celebi is the new one now. They think Mew's been out now long enough that everybody has gotten him who's going to get him. But if you're still working on it, because there's a lot of stuff you got to do, it's 10 research things, but they all have like 3 within it. So it's like 30 research things you have to do. And some are easy, some are hard, some take time. It's understandable. But I've gotten my Mew, and my whole family's gotten their Mews. It took us about a couple weeks to do it, but we did. But if you're still working on it, you can still work on Mew for a few weeks into the Celebi stuff. But Celebi is going to be the new one starting on August 20th. So you're going to start seeing research stuff for that, and that'll be good for Pokemon Go fans. So that's your Pokemon Go Minute. A lot of interesting comic book days are coming up. Batman Day is coming up September 15th, so your local comic book store will probably have a free Batman comic, and they'll probably have Batman sales and stuff like that. So go to your local comic book store on September 15th, and that'd be kind of cool. October 13th, which is also a Saturday, is going to be Walking Dead Day. I think the 14th is when the new season starts. So the 13th, you'll be able to probably get a free Walking Dead comic, and once again, Walking Dead sales and people dressed up in costumes, stuff like that. You can do that as well. And November 17th is Local Comic Shop Day. I don't exactly know what they do for that. So we got those 3 days coming up in the world of comics over the next few months. So good on that. We'll talk about Baltimore real quick. Because I'm getting up to my 2-hour window, and I got to go to work tomorrow. So if I can get this done by about 11:15 and get to bed by 11:30, I should be okay. It gives me about 6 hours of sleep. So we'll see. As I said earlier, the Standard News or something like that, some sort of magazine or newspaper over in the UK, had a story which called Baltimore the coolest city in the United States. And again, I'm a homer, so I was reading their reasoning for it, and I was like, yeah, I can see that. The reason why they're saying Baltimore is the coolest city in the country. Now, again, you can probably make this case for a lot of the cities in the United States, but this one was about Baltimore, my town, and we have this stuff. Baltimore already is a quirky town, always has been, but what we have here is they say the booming art scene. They say millennials are coming to Baltimore in record numbers. So that's what's making Baltimore become this cool city again. But our arts, we have a booming art scene. We've got lots of art museums, lots of specialty museums that are real small, hole in the walls, but they still have lots of art. Some of the things in Baltimore that we do, people create giant paintings on walls of buildings. I forget, they have a specific name. I can't. Murals. Lots of really big murals that are really artistic. And we have, the AVAM, which is the American Visionary Arts Museum, which is a more modern take on the art museum. And we also have the Walters Art Museum and the BMA, Baltimore Museum of Art, which are all very good and have huge collections from big artist groups and stuff like that. So the art scene is pretty big. We have a rich history. Baltimore is one of the original, or Maryland is one of the original 13 colonies. We've been around since the 1600s. And we have a very vivid history. We've had Edgar Allan Poe, Babe Ruth, Cal Ripken, Barry Levinson, Michael Phelps, Ray Lewis. No, he's not from Baltimore. But we've had famous people come through here. We've had movies and TV shows filmed in our city. We have a lot of history. The War of 1812 is our big war. Fort McHenry is not that far from Baltimore. The Star Spangled Banner, which is the national anthem of the United States, was written outside of Fort McHenry and outside of Baltimore. So we have that. We have just an enormous amount of history here. As I said, we've been around since the 1600s. So we have a long history. That's, for those who don't realize that, that's over 400 years Baltimore's been in business. So it's a long time. The brunches, we have a lot of cool, quirky restaurants that offer nice, usually on the weekend, brunches. And it's always a big deal going out to these cool places and having these stellar brunches everywhere across the city. So, millennials, I guess, like the idea of a brunch now. You've partied all night Saturday, and you went home with somebody, maybe had a little sex, got a little too much drunk on you, and you wake up and you're like, I'm kind of hungry, but it's like 11 o'clock. It's like, well, I don't really want lunch stuff. I kind of want breakfast stuff. Hey, Sunday brunches, you got that. So you find them local there, and then you take a walk around the harbor and everything's good. The neighborhoods is another listing for it. We've got all kinds of great, Federal Hill is a nice young demographic neighborhood, which has been shown up on House Hunters a few times before. We've got Camden. We have Camden near here, which is more working class, blue collar families, but they are all strong together. Hampton is another one. That's the Hunfest area and the place that has the light displays and stuff like that. Ruxton, we got lots of different. We've got the rich neighborhood outside of Johns Hopkins University. Got all kinds of really nice neighborhoods. Yes, we do have some shitty neighborhoods where the drugs are rampant and murder and gun violence is rampant, but a lot of the neighborhoods in our area are actually very strong and united. And the guy who owns Under Armour is actually creating a whole new neighborhood, which will be up and running in about 10 years probably. So similar to a Columbia, which is outside of Baltimore, which was a city that was created to be the perfect city. And it's been chosen as the best city in the United States as well. That's Columbia before. But we're talking about Baltimore now. Authentic crab craze. If you're a Baltimorean or a Marylander or whatever, saying you don't like crabs does not make you cool, because everybody else in this state and city does. Crabs are our thing. You try to get crab anywhere else, it's not nearly as good as it is in our area. We were the ones who created Old Bay, which adds that little extra kick and spice to your crabs. Maryland crab cakes are considered delicacies and are flown out to different parts of the country and the world for that matter, and they're world famous. And that's the one thing everybody talks about when they mention Baltimore, the crabs. And it is true. I like crabs. I just don't like cleaning them, but I will eat crab meat till the cows come home because it is delicious. And in fact, whenever they do like national football games, like the Ravens play on a Monday night or a Sunday night or whatever, and it's at home, they always show pictures of crabs or people making crab cakes or breaking the crabs up, and they mention the crabs every time they film in Baltimore during national football games, which is cool, which is what makes us the way we are. Lavish dining, not just the crabs. We have Little Italy is probably one of the best neighborhoods for the most authentic and delicious Italian food you've ever had. We've got our seafood areas. We've got other areas that are like French and Mexican, and just all kinds of wonderful restaurants that have all different types, Middle Eastern food, just all kinds of they're good. The Zagat reviews for all these places are phenomenal. So it is you think, I'm sure other cities have just as good restaurants, but we've got excellent ones as well. Time to check it out. The nightlife. Hey, Fells Point. Fells Point is a huge thing when you're a college kid, or or a young 20-year-old, it's the best place to hang out. There's tons of bars. You can walk around with your alcohol. There's lots of people down there. Federal Hill is another one that, as again, is young demographic, and lots of bars and lots of partying, and lots of fornication too. I mean, you can probably find someone to go home with at either of these places. Those are the two main nightlife areas. The harbor itself is pretty good, but it's not quite in the same vein as a Fells Point or a Federal Hill. But down the harbor zone as well, there's some nice places to go as well. Just not, if you think those two places are too crowded, which they are, always hit the inner harbor as well. There's still some good stuff in that general area as well. The Sagamore Whiskey Distillery, the Union it's craft beer. That's what Union Craft Beer Brewery and the Guinness Brewery are all new things here in our area. I mean, we have the Sagamore Whiskey Distillery is selling like gangbusters all across the world. We're the only city in the United States that has a Guinness brewery. They wanted to expand, and there were a bunch of cities that wanted them. They came to Baltimore, so we have a Guinness brewery now. And the Union Craft Beer Brewery, craft brews are a phenomenal business, and this is an actual really nice, popular brew as well. So you get some of this cool stuff, and it's all within walking distance of like these really great neighborhoods and places where the young people like to hang out. What the hell is that? Hunfest. Okay, that's what it was. Hunfest is one of those parade things with the big hair, stuff like that. It's a great event down in Hamden. So there's that. We also have other really cool events that happen during the year, but Hunfest is the one that we're most known for as well. And finally, the cool accommodations. If you come to stay at hotels, stuff like that, we've got some really nice historic hotels, luscious, luxurious hotel rooms, old style fashion type of hotels. Got tons of hotels downtown, so you love that. So it's considered one of the coolest cities in the country, and according to the national standard, the coolest city in the United States. Obviously, Portland or Seattle or San Francisco or Boston or Houston or Austin, they can probably make cases. New Orleans, they can make cases. Miami, they can make cases that they're the coolest ones as well. But Baltimore is a unique city. Yes, we have lots of drugs. Yes, we have lots of murders, and that's not good. But if you get past that, we still have a strong relationship in these neighborhoods. The neighborhoods come together. They march when we had the riots and the gun violence. The neighborhoods, they go at night and they go and march down the street, and they with the police, and just to try to protest, to try to get people to stop what they're doing, and they try to come up with new things to do to try to stem the tide of this. So it's not like just saying, we give up. These little areas are trying hard to clean up their towns. But we do have all these cool little neighborhoods around here that this is mainly focused more towards young people to get people to come to Baltimore. Baltimore's population has grown. It has been going downhill for a while, but it's starting to grow again. And a lot of it is these younger millennials coming into wanting to live in a cool town. My cousin was one of them that lived in downtown for the longest time, but had to leave when she broke up with her boyfriend because he wouldn't. It's a long story, but regardless, she was one of the people who lived down there and was glad to live in that area. I got a few more things and I'm out of here. So I'm going to try to push this. I think I can do it in 9 minutes. So let's get this going. My anniversary stuff. Wizard of Oz came out August 15th, 1939. That was 79 years ago. So we're off to see the Wizard. If you want to go back and see one of my shows, I have my Glinda the Good Witch was actually the bad guy theory of the Wizard of Oz. I might bring that up again sometime down the line, but that's one of them. The Rocky Horror Picture Show premiered 43 years ago. To everybody there, so that's cool for that. like that. No, that's all like that. Woodstock was 49 years ago, so next year will be the 50th anniversary of Woodstock, so that's interesting. Freddy versus Jason is 15 years ago. Those have been always interesting because it was a fascinating way to get two of your favorite horror icons to fight each other. Sort of similar to try to get, we need a good Aliens versus Predator movie. They've done 3 of them, I think, and none of them are really, really good, but we need a good one. And Jason versus Freddy was one of those really, really good ones to show, 2 different franchises fighting each other and teaming up against each other was great. Monty Python's Life of Brian is 39 years old this week as well. This is a movie I watch every Good Friday or at least Easter weekend because it is a great, and I was talking about religion earlier, it is a great look at religion and the obsession with religion that people have, and in an entertaining way gives you an idea of how religions are formed and give you a better idea of how things came about. Like, I'm never going to forget the one way that they describe how religions break off from each other. You have one general idea. Lord Jesus was, the Son of God came down from heaven and is here to help us. But then you have all these offshoots, Methodists and Protestants and Buddhists, and Baptists and stuff like that. And they believe different aspects of the Jesus story that others don't. So they do something similar in this movie where they have a guy that they think is the Messiah in Brian, and he just wants to be left alone. So there's one group that says, well, we need to leave him alone. And there's one group where he runs away and his sandal falls off. There's one group that says, we need to follow the sandal. And there's another group where he leaves a gourd out and they say, no, we need to follow the gourd. So that's how those 3 different religions were created. Because they were taking different aspects of the same thing and make it, and that describes religion to me better than any classes I took on it in college. Enter the Dragon is the same age as I am. Enter the Dragon came out in 1973, this week actually, 45 years ago. So I'm older than Enter the Dragon. Pretty good martial arts movie with Bruce Lee. Uncle Buck came out 29 years ago this week, so we got a 30th anniversary coming out next year. That had a young Macaulay Culkin in it, and proof that John Candy was one of the greatest actors of our time and was totally underrated in his time, and we lost him too soon. A great tour de force by Uncle Buck, by John Candy. Great character, written by John Hughes, who John Candy was almost like his muse for a while there, and just a nice little story, typical John Hughes-esque type of movie that you would consider. He might have even directed too, I don't even remember. And finally, Can't Buy Me Love was 31 years ago. Patrick Dempsey as a nerdy guy who's rich and decides to bribe the prettiest girl in school to be his girlfriend so he'd be more popular. And of course, in these type of teenage type of romances in the 80s, they fall in love with each other. So it wasn't a John Hughes movie, but it fit perfectly in well with the John Hughes aesthetic in the 1980s, and is one of those films that is fun to watch. So that's it for that. I'm just going to end this on my holidays, and then I'm getting the heck out of Dodge. Whoops, wrong thing here. So as always, don't know, I'm a holiday freak. I love holidays. Every day is a holiday, literally. It might not be popular holidays like Christmas or Halloween or Thanksgiving, but there are weird ones as well. So we have August 19th, which is today, was Black Cow Root Beer Float Day. Now, I call it Brown Cow. It's root beer and vanilla ice cream in a float, and it's actually good. But people call it Black Cow. I call it that's root beer. I always thought a Black Cow might have been if you use Coke instead of root beer. So I don't know, but I call it a Brown Cow. God's Preeminence Day. Again, we're freedom of religion country. If you want to believe in that, if you want to celebrate that, that's fine, but don't force it on us. International Bow Day. So I don't know if that just means bow as in bow ties or bow ribbons, or bows as in arrows and bows. National Aviation Day is today. National Hot and Spicy Food Day. National Potato Day. Potatoes. National Sandcastle and Sculpture Day. Hey, it's the beach. Why not? World Humanitarian Day was today. World Photo Day was today. Yesterday, the 18th, was Helium Discovery Day, International Geocaching Day, International Homeless Animals Day, Mail Order Catalog Day, National Bad Poetry Day, National Fajita Day was yesterday, National Honeybee Day, National Ice Cream Pie Day, National Soft Ice Cream Day, Serendipity Day is August 18th. Tomorrow, the 20th, is World Mosquito Day, Virtual Worlds Day, Stay Home with Your Kids Day. I wish I could, but my boss has jury duty, so I can't. National Radio Day, National Lemonade Day, National Chocolate Pecan Pie Day, and National Bacon Lovers Day is tomorrow, and National Cupcake Day. So get yourself a bacon cupcake for National Bacon and National Cupcake Day. So that is it. So that is it for this week's episode of Dylan Knows. One person popped in for a few seconds, but I didn't think anybody was going to show up because I'm competing with Sharknado. Hopefully you guys can catch it this upcoming week before my new episode comes out next weekend. Again, probably be Sunday afternoon. Won't be Sunday evening again, probably Sunday afternoon. New episode of Dylan Knows with the stuff that's coming out this week. So my son's birthday is on Saturday, so happy birthday to him early. And with that note, I am out of here. I'll see you on the flip side.